Good afternoon, good afternoon. How are you guys? Hope everyone is having a pleasant day. Lord, give me a second here to get myself together. There we go. Okay. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is having a pleasant day, pleasant afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. YouTube is one of those really unique places where people from all over the world will end up watching your live. I think that's super cool. Like, just to find yourself in different parts of the world, you know, marketed on this app. Anyway, I usually pull a botanical card that gives a quote that I hope resonates with the message moving forward. But this card says purity, cheerfulness, and innocence. The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. I definitely feel like this is relevant to what I'm going to talk about today for sure. I'm going to leave this right here. Purity, cheerfulness, and innocence. Purity, cheerfulness, and innocence. So, first and foremost, the messaging that I have been putting out there has gradually changed. I've talked about that before. And it's gone from, it's just evolved with where I am with gang stalking, as is natural. You know, I forgot my lighter. Your mentality kind of dictates the perspective that you take with things happening around you. Give me a second here. Give me a second, YouTube. Okay, so as I was saying, obviously your perspective is gonna change as you change. So as I continue to go on this journey with myself, as I begin to or continue to realize that this thing is more about me than it is about anyone else, that this is evolving myself, you know, my perspective changes. But I also, like I said, I think it's a natural evolution from acquiring peace from this situation. So, you know, put it this way, everything I talk about, I do. Whether I struggle with doing it or not, I push through, I push past opposition, and I do everything that I said that I was gonna do and that I tell people that they have to do. I don't think this is I think we all know this is not the easiest life journey to go on. However, I feel like it's mandatory for those who are on it. And we don't know all the time why. We don't know why we're put in this position. We don't know why this is happening. We just know that this is what it takes to move forward. And this obstacle is not getting out of your way. You have to build a way or find a way. every single time. That is just the gang stalking journey. That's just how it goes. So I want to talk about today more healing stuff. We are on the healing train. It is going to continue. It's not, I feel like healing is, not that I feel, but I definitely know healing is a lifelong thing. It's a lifelong journey. And when you go through these incredibly difficult circumstances, I feel like healing is more imperative. You can see when people have healed from situations and they've come out of situations where mentally or on their spiritual or energetic body, you can see that it hasn't affected them in the way that probably it would affect someone else, that they've gotten through it, maybe not completely unscathed, but definitely there's been a lot of inner work that has happened. That is something that I aspire to. This journey to me has been about self-mastery. It's been about self-healing. You know, it's been about self-control, self-awareness, and walking a middle path. And I promise you, all of those things have been incredibly, incredibly, incredibly trying. These things have pushed me to my limit and then past it. And that's like a good thing that I've gotten to learn in this journey, is that I can get to my limit and then move past my limit. I don't have to stop at what I perceive my limit to be, that I can continue to push forward and just find myself. There's so many things that happen as you heal. Like, you have to be accountable to yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to ask yourself, even if you understand the reason why you made a decision, was it the best decision? Was this the best way to move forward? You have to continue to reflect, to continue to self-assess, to continue to improve yourself, improve on your behavior, and to keep learning. You know, it's very difficult. I very much feel guided along this journey, and sometimes it's like, like everybody else, I make mistakes. I make mistakes with the things I say, the things I do, the way I handle situations, and I have to be humble enough to take correction. All of this, very difficult. Even, for example, going through an incredible amount of suffering, like what you go through with gang stalking, and then forcing yourself in the beginning, because that's what it feels like, forcing yourself to say, listen, I need to slow down, and I need to ask myself, even though this is happening, my reaction to it, is my reaction to it beneficial? Granted, warranted, understandable, yes, but is it beneficial? And I literally have to come to the point of just laying down my swords with the situation, and that is when all of my healing content started. All of the content where I talk about, guys, we gotta heal, we gotta ignore all of this, we gotta push forward. Because having a good day and being intent on keeping that good day and being determined to keep the good feelings, keep the happiness, keep the hope, doing all of this, and then just feeling like this feeling of being light, this feeling of being happy, finding my happiness again, not just blocking out gang stalking, but finding the happiness again, finding the hope again, finding the peace again, and just blocking out things that truly are just intended to keep me in a fight mode. That's why I come and I pass on this information, because of how it's helped me. And being able to say, like, all of the things, you know, to some degree, a lot of the same things are still happening. I mean, they're not crowding me out in the street. Like, I wouldn't call it gang stalking in the traditional sense of, you know, what other people go through. But I would definitely say that there's a fair amount of you know, annoying behavior and provoking and bullying and, you know, all of that still going on, but just looking past it. And some of the things you have to look past are really tough to look past. It's very, very, very tough stuff to look past. It's stuff that you can see is sabotaging you, and you know, but you gotta keep pushing through. So first of all, this is the reason that I've always said that I do not come here with an ego. I do not come here making anyone feel like, listen to me because, you know, I have all the answers, or listen to me because, you know, I'm perfect, I'm doing a perfect job. Not really. I've said up front, I am doing my best. I'm doing my best with a situation that is tough. I used to watch other readers before, people that gave messages that were just being spiritually attacked nonstop. And I used to feel sorry for them, to be honest with you. After a while, I'd be like, oh my God, they're going through a lot. Like, I used to even pray for them sometimes. I'm like, my goodness, it's a lot of attacks, a lot of bullying. You could see what they're going through. They're battling a lot. And to be in the same seat now and putting up with the same craziness now, like every day, some nonsense to stop me from coming online, to stop me from giving messages, to like to distract and all of that. My gosh, it's tough. It's tough. You know, it's very tough. I just want to say, and I was reminded of this during prayer last night, that I remember my tough days. I remember my toughest days. I remember being encouraged just to keep going, to keep moving one step in front of the other. It is the same sort of self-motivation you need to do anything, to build anything, to go anywhere, to conquer anything when it's tough, when you're not seeing progress in the very beginning, is literally just to put one foot in front of the other every day. Just to wake up and put one foot in front of the other every day. And that's literally all you can do. I don't think that anybody should beat themselves up as far as how long your healing is taking, how many times you move forward and then you have to step back, how many times you fall on your face, you backslide on the thing that you said you wouldn't do. This thing takes time. A lot of this takes a lot of practice. So keep going with it. Keep going. I've fallen on my face a million times in order to get up, and I'm not joking. I've said, you know, I was dealing with rage being projected. Dealt with that. Much easier to manage, very easy to pick up on it when it's happening. I've dealt with coming on here and basically feeling like I had to threaten people to leave me alone, and not something I find fun, not something that I want to do, but feeling like my hands are tied behind my back because of the kind of attacks that I'm under. Craziness in every capacity. Give me a second, please. Yeah, just goes, let me see. Just going through the most, going through the most. It's crazy because in this situation, almost feels like people want you to step out of your life so they can be comfortable, to stop living your life. Not almost, what it is, it is what it is. That they want you to evacuate your life, your way of living, your way of being, your happiness, so that they can survive. Gang stalking to me is one of the most ridiculous things. And as far as I've been through it for 2 years, I still have moments where I sit there and I'm like, I cannot believe this is real. Like, I cannot believe that this is actually happening. This is craziness. So first and foremost, I just want to say to everybody listening here, believe me, your suffering is heard. Your discomfort is felt. I did not have the answers when I was told to come on here and speak about this. I did not know why. Why so long? This feels like torture. Am I ever gonna get out of this? What did I do to deserve this? The same questions that everybody else asks. And we come this far. Well, I've come this far to tell you that I have emerged out of this situation my highest self, the best version of myself, the best, most composed, most mastered version of myself. Not because it has been easy, but because it's taken the most amount of work that I've ever had to muster to pick myself up from what felt like an entire building was dumped over me and over my life. To climb out from that sort of rubble on my, not on my own spiritually, but physically only being on my own, but very much supported spiritually and through my faith. It has been a rocky ride. I don't want to misrepresent this to anyone as if it's not going to take a lot out of you. It has taken everything out of me. I have come to the end of my strength and then some, and been completely reliant on God for strength, for hope, for motivation, for safety, to take care of me. I have been living 100% on God's grace, 100% on God's grace. So I have lived what people are going through, and in some ways still continue to live some facet of that as well. I've come out of this difficult cycle. So on my page, on my channel, I talk about the 7 phases of gang stalking. I think I know the hardest part is the death and rebirth cycle. This is the longest cycle. It is the toughest cycle. It is the cycle where you have to just hold on and endure while spiritual battles are fought on your behalf. This is a tough part. You have to know what's going on. You have to, I was supported in tapping in spiritually, being aware, seeing signs, believing, having hope, having faith. So I got through that phase. Thank you so much to my ancestors, to my spirit team. Thank you. Still going through some energetic stuff, nowhere near as bad as it used to be, nowhere near as bad. Learned every step of the way. There's been one lesson after the other, every step of the way, getting there. And getting through every lesson has been like getting through the gym, getting through a physical transformation, but in the gym. No like shortcuts. It has been being resilient, pushing yourself, pushing past the first limit and the second limit and the third limit, and pushing past all the limits, being self-directed. It has been fighting through. It has been implementing practices that build inner strength, resiliency. It's been a lot. It has been challenging. It's been a lot. But every single time I've overcome one hurdle, every time I've gone through one cycle, I've learned a lesson that has basically put me more in control of myself. Recently, I don't know how long I would say, but recently I've just decided like I don't want to react to anything anymore. I'm so exhausted of doing it. I think people have seen maybe the change. People have seen just the change in the messaging that I've been putting out. Guys, it's not because I'm not still fighting. It's just because I am exhausted of the fighting. And at some point, you got to move away from this nonsense. This is just playing into someone's hand. And that's the thing. It's like you can see how people want you to play into this nonsense. You can see how people want you to engage with this. They fight harder. They keep doing more things. And it's just seeing it for what it is, which is childishness. If you can get to that point, at your time, at your pace, but definitely being intentional about it, working towards it every day, slipping, getting back into something, and then pulling your attention away, pulling your reactions away, pulling everything away. If you can go through that, if you can master yourself in that way, you're well on your way to mastering every facet of your life. And I've always talked about this as self-mastery. You know what it's come to me is that every time a wild wind blows, my life choices and my moods shouldn't change. Every time something happens that is a passing occurrence or a passing circumstance, I don't want to change my mood. I don't want to change what I'm focusing on. I don't want to change where I'm putting my energy. I don't want to change where I'm putting my focus, especially if prior to I was putting my focus on something that's very productive. And this is how I've had to address things. I've had to see things, take note of them, not react, push past. See things, be touched by it, not react, move past. Notice things, witness things, not play into it, move past. Continue on with my day peacefully, just going along. It gets easier. It gets easier to do. I just want to tell everybody, honestly, the worst thing that you can do is regret feeling like, just regret what you've gone through, sit there and waste energy regretting your behavior, past behaviors, or past versions of yourself. That's growth. That's how growth occurs, is that you're doing something that's unproductive to yourself and your growth, and you stop that behavior. You're accountable. You look at yourself, you assess yourself, you say, this doesn't make sense for me to do, and you move past it. You don't stay in that place. You don't continue to do the same thing. And sometimes, and a lot of times, our behaviors, our reactions to problems furthers the problem itself. It's hard to admit because it's so valid to say, I don't deserve this. It's so valid to say, this is not right. It's not right, but I've come to the conclusion that giving it too much attention, it has been counterproductive. It's been counterproductive. So I'll put it this way. But one thing I am grateful for is that God put me in a position to learn that for myself, to go through my phases and learn it. Not force it, not dictate it on me, but just to learn little by little, like, hey, this doesn't make sense. Hey, this keeps happening. Hey, your attention keeps deviating to nonsense. So my message has gone from telling my story to constantly feeling provoked, to addressing every little thing that happens, to letting people know that I see them, I hear them, I know what's going on. And then getting to the point where it's like, I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to know what's going on. I don't care. I want to ignore it. And just pulling my attention away. And that's what I invite everybody here to do, to challenge yourself, to pull your attention away from things that don't serve you, things that don't make sense for your highest good. Just pull your attention away from it, because it is not making your life better. And if anything, it's making your life worse. You're going to get stuck in this loop of talking about it. You're going to get stuck in this loop of living this reality because that's what you keep regurgitating. It's like with your awareness to it and your attention to it, you're keeping it in your vibration. You're keeping it in your reality. You have to be able to say to yourself, I'm letting this go. I want to consciously return back to the person that I was before. And then you have to remember the person that you were before. You have to remember the things you like doing, the things you were okay with, the way you behaved, you had a good life before, I'm sure. Because if you didn't have a good life, someone wouldn't pay money to destroy your life. This is born of envy, so we gotta leave. We have to leave this place. We have to leave this place. We have to find ourselves in a better condition. We have to pay attention to better things. I have talked about being a soldier because that is the amount of militant obedience you need to get through this when your ancestors, your spirit guides come to walk you through. And they're saying to you, you have to do this, you have to do that. And that which they ask is not easy. And you're thinking, how on earth is this going to help? The first time that I was pushed to forgive, you got to forgive, you got to forgive. I'm like, what? I have to forgive after all of this? Yes, you got to forgive. It has been tough. Then you gotta heal. That has also been tough. It has been asking me to stretch myself emotionally, to mature over and over again. And a lot of times I meet what I'm asked with, you know, like defiance, like, no, I shouldn't have to do this. This shouldn't have to be about me, etc., etc. And every single time I've done it and it's been worth it. Every single time that I've had to push myself, it has been totally worth it. And that's all you can do, is just continue to push yourself in the direction that you want to go. It takes a bit of momentum to get it started, but once you get started on that healing journey, the moving on journey, the journey of finding yourself again, but the better version of yourself as you continue to evolve, you just find your happiness again, you find your peace again. I think people can see it in you that you're genuinely at peace, that you're genuinely like happy in yourself as you continue practicing it. And that's the only message that I can give people. I have emotionally walked away from this battle. I have had to put down my swords, not because people are still fighting, but because I do not want to spend any more time doing that. But I've also done that by really defending my peace very fiercely and closing doors to chaos, which I talk about all the time. And I do want to say that it is about self-control, for sure, what you're going through, because what I've realized is if people can't beat you one way, they beat you another, they try to beat you another way. If they can't take your life from you, if they can't take your motivation from you, they try to exhaust you. If they can't exhaust you, they try to have people come against you. If people coming against you doesn't work, then they try to, you know, do something else and something else and something else. And it's like, if you do not master yourself on every level, if you don't try to close these doors of people entering your space on every single level that they enter your space, you're going to be stuck in this constant chaos, constant fighting. So this fighting, this healing, this forgiving, this cannot happen until you close the doors to all the chaos seeping in. You have to find your peace again. If you cannot find it, you're constantly going to have to defend yourself. And this has been hard. This has taken a lot of me being accountable. This has been taken a lot of like me looking at myself and just being like, is this the best behavior? No, probably should change it. It's taken a lot of that. It's taken a lot of that. Let me see. What do I want to talk about? This is definitely psychological warfare. These people definitely put you in positions where they cast a lot of illusions. They do a lot of things that they want. It's almost like they want to put you in a position to fight yourself. It's almost like they want to put you in a position to sabotage yourself, to gang stalk yourself repeatedly. It's not good. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we definitely have to get out of. And every feeling that you have is valid. You are being violated. You are being deceived. You are being manipulated. You are being ganged up on. All of these feelings are valid. I want to be very clear because I don't want to alienate anybody by making anybody feel like you're going through something as if like it's like you doing it to yourself, or the onus is on you to like to suffer from this or not. It's just that in order to stop the suffering, it does take conscious effort on your part. The first time I had to decide like to block the access to me, I have to stop noticing people on the streets, I have to take control of my anxiety, I have to do all of these things, I have to try to get clear-headed. It's like I had to take the conscious effort because it wasn't stopping. If anything, it was getting worse as I was trying to heal. I had to continue doing it and doing it and doing it until I closed more and more doors. And that's all that it comes down to. That is all that it comes down to. I want to also suggest something to people being gang stalked about the myths and the misconceptions with being gang stalked. I just want to, gang stalking is like revenge for hire. That's what it is. It's revenge for hire. I know that there are people who believe that they're on a government watch list or that they're in some sort of, I'm sure, listen, and I'm not saying no, that weird things are happening everywhere you go and with everything that you do. I'm not saying no. However, I just want to suggest, like, there was one time there was somebody at TI's page that I was looking at, and this person was, from what I could see from them, I just felt like 100% this person is like an ex-husband or something that did this to this person. I could tell. And I just want to say, it can be that simple. It could be an ex-husband. It could be a family member. It could be someone at your workplace. It can be an old job. This can happen in any simple way. It's if the person has money to pay for it and if they're willing to do this. So that's how simple it is. I want to just bring it down to an understandable, palatable level. That's how easy it is. It's not you being on a watch list. It's not your life turning upside down. It's somebody that you know paying somebody else. If I've mentioned this all the time, if your suffering is not what they want, if your suffering is not to the level and the degree that they want, they've wasted their money. If you can recognize, say for example, you're going through gang stalking and you realize that gang stalking happened during your divorce, you can pretty much connect that that might be associated with that life event. And if you can find signs that perhaps this is, let's say, an ex-husband or a mother-in-law or something like that, if you can see that it's something like that, it really humanizes the experience and you realize who's doing it. And so it kind of looks just like a very petty tit for tat instead of, you know, how big TIs tend to make it. And that it's not something that's very difficult, but TIs, like, we tend to really make it something very big and scary, like the government and all of that. And it's not that. It's not that at all. At some point, you have to decide to move on with your life. You got to learn all your lessons and move on with your life and face the problems that have been put in your way, the obstacles and the hurdles that have been put in your way to try to deter you, to try to stop you from where you're going. You got to take your time with yourself. This is not something that can be rushed. I think those of us that have been through this can forever say that we have been forever changed. We have recognized what things like witchcraft are. We've recognized what that energy is real for us, that God is real. And, you know, we can, with conscious effort, I keep saying with conscious effort because if it's not conscious, if it's not a decision, it's going to be hard. With conscious effort and determination, you can pick up the pieces of your life and you can move on. You can just pick up and say, do I want to live here? Is this what I want? Do I want to get a job? Do I want to save money? Do I want to be solid? Do I want to get back to myself? What do I want for myself? And we can all determine that. We're all adults. We can all do stuff like that. So here's what I want to say today for this message. I think that in successfully navigating gang stalking, which I think a lot of people have, not a lot of people talk about it, but a lot of people have successfully navigated gang stalking. I think that that makes each and every one of us a leader in our own right. And not a leader as in someone who lords over people or who looks down on people or controls people or people have to follow what you say. Not leadership from ego, but an example. A leader is someone, to me, who just shows people the way. And that can be with absolutely no interaction whatsoever. Just giving people hope, showing people how things are done and being an example. So I think leadership requires balance, a balanced approach. I talk all about the middle path. Leadership requires discernment, and that grows from self-reflection that is practiced and consistent, not just self-reflecting when I feel like it, but consistently doing it all the time and making it a part of how I remain accountable to myself, reflecting, looking at my behavior. And then from the accountability saying, well, I can improve. I can improve upon this behavior. I can be better. I can behave better. You know, putting yourself, put yourself and your own self-serving needs oftentimes behind the greater good of others. For me, that's been the satisfaction of feeling like I've conquered my situation, but perhaps at the detriment of the messaging that I'm giving out, of the way that I'm behaving. That's been tough. Getting control of anger, that's been tough. Healing basically on camera, where I would have happily done it quietly on my own, but having to come here and talk to people. But I also feel like my anger and my defiant attitude definitely served a purpose, because I definitely feel like there were a lot of people that were working out of fear, and I know that they got to see that there's an alternate way of existing in this thing, that you don't have to be afraid, that you can take your power back from this. That's been a very strong message that I've wanted to put out there, that you should take your power back from this situation, that you do not need to be scared of it, but also knowing when, don't need to stay there, the path of evolving. Balanced approaches, leadership requires balanced approaches and decision making that favors or benefits a collective, and not just petty squabbles that destabilize and immobilize those who depend on you. And whether that is leadership in any capacity, even if it's just for me coming on here and encouraging people automatically is being an example to people. And it's the same thing. It's just continuing to grow, continuing to be humble, continuing to not operate out of my ego. And I'm going to be the first to tell you that that is not easy. That makes you feel like, well, if I admit that I'm wrong, am I making it so that people don't trust what I say? Or am I looking inferior? Or no, because I'm a human being. I tell people all the time, I do not have an ego regarding this leadership thing, or this teacher thing, or whatever these titles are. I'm learning myself. I am learning myself. This is a tough, tough, tough life journey. It is not easy for any of us involved. I think that being a good leader requires being responsible, an adult that makes decisions from compassion. When a leader is tested with adversity, in the places which challenge you, there lies tremendous opportunity for growth. I am continued to be tried in places that I haven't been very good at, places like forgiveness, places like I've been fairly decent with self-control, thankfully. Fairly decent with managing myself, fairly decent with being humble. We all have our weaknesses and our strength, but haven't been perfect. And I want to invite everybody to kind of look at where you're coming from with this, and places that you can improve and places that you can be better. And just ask yourself, am I being the best version of me? Is this always me, or am I operating from a place of reaction? Am I operating from a place of exhaustion? Am I operating from a place of bitterness? Am I operating from a place of resentfulness? Am I operating from a place of pride? I just pulled a card here, one of these botanical cards, and it says, a wise man has dignity without pride. A fool has pride without dignity. And this is a quote by Confucius. So this is something that I think all of us can learn from. I feel like what you learn through gang stalking, it just really changes your perception on humanity. I came all the way from the beginning of this, the beginning of gang stalking, coming from feeling as though who and what are human beings? Oh my goodness. Like, people are horrible. And stayed in it long enough to realize that people are trapped. Staying long in it enough to realize that people who are gang stalking me are also scared themselves. They've been trapped in a system. They've been trapped in a cycle themselves. And coming all the way on the other side to be like, people need help. People need help through these cycles. This has been a long way to come from. It's taken a tremendous, tremendous amount of humility and hope. Humility and obedience. Humility and endurance. Humility and managing myself. Managing how I behave. Managing what I can put up with without lashing out. It has been tough, and I know it's tough on you as well, and that grace is what we need. From trials, we must grow, not stagnate, meaning stay in position, and squander opportunities to be an example of exemplary behavior to others. I think every time you go through something difficult, there is an opportunity for you to show other people a better way to react, a better way to be. Through our triumphs, we show others the beauty of possibility. One of the things that I always hope for in what I go through is to show people that it is more than possible to get through gang stalking. Not only is it more than possible, but that's what you're here for. You're not here to be stuck in it. You're here to get over it. You're here to get through it. And I realized that just by surviving this, I've been made, without my intention, an example. And that's put me in some sort of leadership role. And I want to let anybody watching know that the same is going to, you're going to probably feel the same way as well as you go through your journey. Should you survive this, you are heavily encouraged, to tell other people how you did it. Perhaps you had to do it in a different way than me, than others who've come before us. We're all building upon the knowledge of each other. People who came before me, I can see how they got through it, but places that they got stuck, places that they were being held back. And so I kind of devised a way for me to push past that. And I know there are going to be TIs with my help, and others like me, there are going to be TIs that are going to get even further. So I just feel like once we get to that point as TIs, we have to try our best to really be an example to other people on not just how to behave, not just how to endure, not just how to get through, and not just getting through, but how to do it gracefully, how to do it with dignity, how to do it with grace. It's asking a lot, absolutely. Absolutely, it is asking a lot. Not just to go through something difficult, but to go through something difficult with grace. It's asking a lot. Not a leader is not a person who domineers over others, micromanages others to benefit their self, their ego, their sense of self-worth and self-importance, but one who simply has demonstrated tenacity, strength, and brilliance to move forward past challenges. Just being an example, just being a light, just being hope, just being one that somebody says, if they can do it, I can do it too. It is something that I myself try to approach humbly. I consider it a position of honor, to be of service to the love of a mother, the universe herself, who would sacrifice her own to give hope to her children at large, that despite unspeakable oppression, so great that this definitely would have to come from evil, that despite such evil being inflicted upon us, that we can all still emerge the highest version of ourselves, and that it is not in comfort and in our success that we grow. It is from a place oftentimes of survival, of challenges, and of suffering. And that with peace, conscious happiness, a conscious commitment to happiness, and with consistent healing, abundance is guaranteed. Just literally by moving forward and putting one foot in front of the other. This is essentially my message for today. I thank you guys for always hanging in there with me. I thank you guys for always checking out my channel. Please like the video, share the channel, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinions are. Okay, so 3 cards came out. I'm going to read all because I feel like they all are relevant to the message that I've had today. So the first one is, look past what you feel are your incapabilities. Instead, focus on everything you have achieved so far. It is okay to acknowledge your weaknesses, but keep in mind that they don't define you. Your strength and your beautiful soul are clear for all to see. Don't beat yourself up for failing. Literally, it is in your feeling that you move forward. One of the things that I've been most grateful to God for is every time I fail, she does not hold me to it. She doesn't make me feel bad. She doesn't beat up on me like I beat up on myself. She just literally says, tomorrow is a new day, to start over again, to try again, to do better. And I think that everybody out there needs to help that. We've all failed. We've all made mistakes. We continue to beat ourselves up. But it's okay to acknowledge weaknesses, and that does not make us a weak person. It doesn't make us how we failed. The second card says, let go of the old and make way for the new. You may find yourself being distracted by random thoughts, fears, or doubts. Don't allow yourself to be governed by them. Simply observe and choose to take aligned actions and choices. That is the self-mastery, literally. Just pushing past your fears. And it's just like, honestly, it's like working out. I've gone through body transformations over and over, and it's literally like, I just know as long as I continue working out, I'll be fine. I don't think about it. I don't count. People say like, what's your goal or what do you want? I don't try to micromanage it. I just keep going. The last one says, if it is meant to be, it will be. You won't have to force, convince, or worry over it. Let it flow, let it be, and let it come to you. You are attracting everything you need. Trust the timing of your life. We always want to listen, that's just a human trait. When is it gonna come? Is it gonna happen? Is it finally gonna happen? With gang stalking, it was the same thing. Only with gang stalking, I didn't sit there every day and be like, oh my God, when is it gonna happen? It was naturally just happening on its own. Things were naturally getting better. Things were naturally getting easier. I was just seeing less and less of it being successful. I was finding my peace and my hope. And that's the same thing. It's like, I feel like that's how manifestation works. You decide that you want it, and then it comes to you. Let's see what stone comes out. Some stones did fall. Let's see what crystals came out. So let me just shuffle this again. I don't know how I feel about these crystals. I don't know. I usually do a crystal of the day. I myself wear crystals. I love crystals. I believe crystals are healing. I believe crystals to just make an impact in my life, to be quite honest. So I wear them. Let's see. Okay, so the crystal that came out, Black Obsidian, one of my favorite crystals. I have this one right here. Black Obsidian is the crystal of soul cleansing. This is like the biggest crystal ever. Black Obsidian is the crystal for soul cleansing. And it's a crystal for the true self. The deep healer, Black Obsidian, offers insight into causes of dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease. It removes blockages and debris from past lives and reverses previous misuse of power, addressing power issues on all levels. The stone blocks psychic attack and removes negative spiritual influences. It anchors the spirit into the body. Black obsidian brings deep-seated emotions and issues to the surface, accessing your shadow and integrating positive qualities hidden there. It works extremely fast, and it really does, but you may need other crystals to deal with those issues that rise to the surface. On the body, it deals with digestion, detoxification, arteries, joints, circulatory system, and the prostate. And in the mind, it clarifies the mind and clears confusion. I just want to let you guys know as my final message. And by the way, I call this a workhorse crystal. If you go through my channel, see my playlist, I call this a workhorse crystal because I believe this is a master crystal that you have to have. I just want to say one thing before I'm done. And I forget what I was going to... Oh, listen, if you're having difficulty healing, that's what prayer is for. Ask God to heal you. Ask God to be your patience, be your strength. Ask God to take a hold of it. Even if it's the first few times, say, God, for the first few times, teach me how to ignore so that you know what it feels like and you know how to do that. Ask God for that and move forward with it. God has helped me through this. God has made a lot of this possible. God has showed me the way. God has gave me the correct timing. God has given me the focus. I've literally had to pray for these things. This has not been something that has been easy for me to do on my own, start on my own, or keep up with on my own. So I welcome you and encourage you to do the same. Literally just pray for your healing, pray for your hope. Keep going, be hopeful. You don't have to just endure this. You can make conscious steps to leave by checking out mentally, giving your attention elsewhere, being hopeful, being peaceful, being stress-free as much as possible. And as I attain that, I try to give that message to others. I thank you very much for your attention to me and my channel. And like I said, like, share, and subscribe. And if you got anything from this, please let me know. Have a wonderful day, and just remember that God loves you.